Shenlang is about to enter capital city, and before leaving, he has a meal with his parents and younger brother. At the dinner table, Shenlang sees a handprint on his younger brother Shinjian's face and can't help but curiously ask who did it. Following Shinjian's gaze across the table, Shenlang also figures out who it was. He clears his throat and asks his mother what exactly happened. Mother Shen angrily tells Shenlang that she asked Lady Jean to find a wife for Shinjian, introducing a girl surnamed Lin. Her grandfather is Count's trusted aide, Lin Old Master. Shenlang is also shocked to hear this name, as he did not expect his mother-in-law to introduce Lin Old Master's granddaughter to his brother. Mother Shen becomes even angrier as she thinks about it and stands up, pointing at Shinjian and scolding. Lin Old Master and Miss Lin agreed to this marriage. Such a good girl liking this unworthy boy. I thought we were so lucky. Shinjian looks at his mother with a wronged expression and dares not to retort. Shenlang tries to comfort his mother. The Lin Old Master's family agreed. It should be a good thing. Mother, why are you still so angry? Mother Shen roars even louder. Of course, I am happy that Shinjian could marry Miss Lin. I wanted to finalize the marriage in a couple of days. But do you know what your brother said? He said he wouldn't marry Miss Lin and insists on marrying Lu Widow from Maple Village. Hearing this, Shenlang is also shocked. His brother must be out of his mind. Then Shinjian timidly says, it's because I promised Lu Widow before that I would marry her once I made it big. Shenlang asks him, did Lu Widow agree at that time? Shinjian weakly says, no. Shenlang is speechless, realizing his brother is unrequitedly in love with Lu Widow. After dinner, Shenlang, with his dejected brother, goes to the backyard flower pond to talk. Shinjian, tell me what you think. Miss Lin is beautiful and well-educated. Such a good girl. Don't you like her? Why do you insist on marrying Lu Widow? Hearing Shenlang's words, Shinjian finally gathers the courage to speak his true feelings. It's because of your glory that I have these riches. Without you, I would be a good for nothing. I feel I don't deserve Miss Lin. After hearing his brother's words, Shenlang understands that Shinjian still feels inferior at heart. He then squats down and asks Shinjian if he really likes Miss Lin. Of course, Shinjian likes her, but he is afraid that they agreed only out of respect for Count's wife. Hearing this, Shenlang pulls him up and walks out. Come, follow me. Let me teach you what to do. A moment later, the two arrived at Lin Old Master's home. As soon as they entered, they saw Miss Lin sitting in the hall, talking to her grandfather. It must be said, this girl is indeed very beautiful. However, she was somewhat shy upon seeing Shenlang and his brother, her fair face instantly blushing. Shenlang is also very pleased with his brother's prospective bride and directly asks, Lin Yinyin, do you like my brother? He is worried that he's not worthy of you, and also worried that you don't really like him. Upon hearing this, Shinjian is shocked. Big brother, do you have to be so direct? Worried about being rejected, Shinjian turns to slip away. But behind him, Lin Yinyin blushes and nods slightly, murmurs a yes, and then quickly runs out. At this moment, Shenlang realizes that Shinjian and Lin Yinyin had met a few times before and got along very well, just unaware of each other's identities. You two are mutually attracted. You can be at ease now, right? Don't just stand there. Let's hurry back and discuss the engagement with our parents. This matter is also very important to both families. The next morning, Father Shen takes Shinjian to the Lin family to propose, and the marriage is agreed upon that very day. The day after arranging his brother's marriage, Shenlang leaves Count's mansion to head for capital city. Not only is Mulan there to see him off, but even his mother-in-law accompanies him, sending him off for miles before reluctantly turning back. 3 days later, a convoy escorted by 100 knights grandly arrives in capital city and heads straight to the palace to meet the sovereign. At this time in the sovereign's study, Prince Ning Jing is accompanying his father in calligraphy practice, also awaiting news of Shenlang. At this moment, the sovereign asks the eunuch, how has Shenlang conducted himself on the road? The eunuch describes in 4 words, ostentatiously parading, utterly unbridled. The sovereign does not respond. Prince Ning Jing asks the eunuch, Hong Shi, what do you mean by utterly unbridled? The eunuch clenches his teeth and says, this mere son-in-law traveled with over 100 cavalry as escorts, a spectacle comparable to a high-ranking official. Moreover, at every official inn he stayed in, if there were any officials below the rank of prefect, he had them driven out. The sovereign frowns upon hearing this. Indeed, this young man is too arrogant. The heirs of old nobility are each more low-key than the last. Even the true nobles wouldn't dare act this way. Then the eunuch adds, when entering capital city, this old servant took special notice of his expression, expecting him to be awed by the impregnable fortress of the city. Yet, he looked disdainful and dismissive. Prince Ning Jing sneers, your capital is majestic and splendid, a gem of the empire, yet this country bumpkin dares to look down on it. It seems this young man certainly has grand ambitions. The sovereign still says nothing, just looks up at the eunuch indicating for him to continue. The eunuch says, after entering capital city, I deliberately took him through the mythical turtle gate, but when he saw the plaque, he said it felt like coming home. Upon hearing this, the sovereign's expression twitched. The Jin family's title was conferred by the first sovereign, and the ancestor was a military man, very domineering. Even the sovereigns of the subsequent centuries couldn't change this title, so what could he do? Then the eunuch said, Your Majesty, we encountered Her Highness Third Princess on Mythical Turtle Avenue. Avenue. Yu Kingdom has 3 princesses. The eldest, Princess Ning Luo, 28 years old, is married to noble Lord Jin of Southern Ouyang. The second princess, Ning Han, 26 years old, is famed as the most beautiful in Yu Kingdom but is currently missing. And the third princess, Ning Yan, 24 years old, although married, has a fiery temper and often domestically abuses her husband, thus she usually resides in Yu Kingdom. No one dares to provoke her outside. When the sovereign heard that they had encountered the third princess, he felt a headache coming on, but still asked if she had caused any trouble again. The eunuch said, "Third princess was racing horses on Mythical Turtle Avenue and caused some trouble." The sovereign immediately became angry. "That's outrageous. Although Mythical Turtle Avenue is wide enough not to accidentally harm the common people, such an imperious attitude still damages the royal dignity." Seeing the sovereign angry, the eunuch quickly changed the subject. "When we saw third princess's cavalry, we immediately moved to the side and knelt on the ground." But Shenlang not only did not get off his carriage, he instead opened the window and made a jest about third princess's body. The sovereign calmed down and asked what Shenlang had said. The eunuch hesitated and timidly said, "He said that third princess has a slender waist and a large buttocks, but her thighs are too thick." Upon hearing this, Ning Jing abruptly stood up. To dare insult a princess of the state, he is truly courting death. Seeing the sovereign's face turn extremely dark, the eunuch wasn't sure whether to continue. The sovereign angrily demanded that he go on. With his head lowered, the eunuch replied, "Shenlang said that he has been away from home for too long, and even upon seeing a woman of this level, he finds himself somewhat unable to restrain himself." Upon hearing this, both the sovereign and Prince Ning Jing were completely shocked. The sovereign, with a grim face, said, "It seems this bastard really isn't afraid of death." After learning of his reckless behavior, the sovereign's expression grew even darker. But since he had not yet fully understood Shenlang's background, he forcibly suppressed his anger and returned to his desk, leaving Shenlang to wait in the Hall of Mercy. Meanwhile, inside the palace's Hall of Mercy, a eunuch was grinding his teeth as he looked at the arrogant and impolite Shenlang. Normally, no matter how high-ranking an official visiting the palace, they would first hand him some gold coins for his troubles, then kneel at the designated spot and wait to be summoned. But Shenlang, upon arriving here, not only made no such gesture but kept demanding food and drink, which in the eunuch's eyes was completely uncultured and outright rebellious behavior. So, the unfortunate Shenlang sat in the Hall of Mercy without food or drink until nightfall. He knew this was the sovereign's way of showing him who's boss, but he hadn't expected the sovereign to be so petty as to not even offer him a drink of water. Just as Shenlang thought he might have to spend the night in the Hall of Mercy, he heard the eunuch announce the sovereign's arrival. Shenlang quickly knelt down to greet his lord. Although he felt somewhat displeased inside, who was he to defy the sovereign? He wasn't about to lose his head over a kneeling salute, but the sovereign didn't even glance at him, walking straight past, and only after sitting down for a while did he finally speak, allowing Shenlang to stand up. However, when Shenlang turned to face the sovereign, he was momentarily stunned. The man before him had features sharp as carved, radiating a regal aura that commanded the world, utterly unlike the mean-spirited image he had envisioned. Moreover, the sovereign had been secretly monitoring him along the way, so logically, he should be furious. Yet why was the sovereign's demeanor so calm? Suddenly, the sovereign spoke. "Shenlang, now that your family has taken Furious Tide City, what are your plans next?" Shenlang was startled, noting that the sovereign used your family instead of the Jin family, and he just asked so directly. After a brief pause, he replied, "Your Majesty, do you wish to hear the truth from my heart? If so, please dismiss those around us." As soon as he finished speaking, the sovereign's eyebrows furrowed. "How bold of you, Shenlang. It's one thing to be haughty and overbearing along the way, but now you dare to be so arrogant in front of me." Thinking this, he stood up and dropped the words, "Speak or not, it's up to you," and then prepared to leave. Seeing this, Shenlang quickly said, "Your Majesty, what I intend to do next is to kill the distant guard Marquis Sunan." Upon hearing this, the sovereign became enraged. "The distant guard Marquis is the Crown Prince's junior protector. How dare you call him by name? Is this how the mythical turtle count taught you manners? To speak so insolently before me? Do you truly have no respect for your sovereign?" Shenlang continued to explain, "Your Majesty, while my father-in-law and I were campaigning at Cliff Watch Island and Furious Tide City, Su's family took advantage of our absence. Su Jianting led over 100 experts from the western regions to infiltrate the mythical turtle count's mansion, killing over 100 of our servants and severely injuring my mother-in-law and wife. I implore your Majesty to investigate this matter thoroughly and grant justice to my family." Unexpectedly, the sovereign, still furious, did not listen to any of Shenlang's defenses and ordered him to be thrown out of the palace gates. Although the meeting was not pleasant, Shenlang knew that since he was able to leave alive, it meant the sovereign would not easily take his life. He then returned to the Jin family's villa with his guards. Upon seeing their young master Shen return, Little Bing couldn't wait to rush out and ask if the sovereign had given him any trouble. It turns out that Mulan, to keep Shenlang from misbehaving outside, had asked Little Bing to accompany him to Capital City. Naturally, Shenlang did not tell Little Bing the real situation, merely saying that he had enjoyed a very pleasant conversation conversation with the sovereign, which was why he returned late. Relieved, Little Bing went to the kitchen to prepare the meal. Shortly after, several exquisite dishes were served on the table. At this moment, Little Bing gazed at her young master Shen eating, her face dreamy, feeling immensely satisfied inside. During these days in capital city, she finally had young master Shen all to herself. That night, Little Bing, wearing a pink camisole and humming a tune, ran into Shen Lang's bedroom. However, Shen Lang flatly rejected Little Bing and boldly declared, "I will never wrong Mulan again." Little Bing's eyes immediately welled up with tears as she said, "But I have the approval of the young mistress." She specifically instructed that I must take good care of young master Shen on this trip to prevent him from being seduced by any temptresses outside. Shen Lang cleared his throat and said, "In that case, tonight I wish to keep to myself and remain faithful to my wife. Why don't you come back tomorrow night?" After saying this, he lay down to sleep, leaving Little Bing standing there, dumbfounded. She couldn't understand what was the difference between coming tonight and coming tomorrow night. As she pondered this, suddenly Shen Lang sat up with a start, exclaiming, "Little Bing, where is Fatty?" It was then that Little Bing realized she had been so preoccupied with young master Shen that she had forgotten to notify her young master and the others that they had come to capital city. Shen Lang was speechless. It seemed his brother-in-law's presence at home was really becoming more and more negligible. He decided he would go to the Imperial Academy himself tomorrow to find him. At the same time within the palace, Zhang Chong, clad in prison garb and shackled, was summoned before the sovereign. This was his first audience with the sovereign since his imprisonment. The once sharp and imposing features had now withered away. During this time in prison, no one had questioned him about his corruption. He was merely confined, as if all this was done to soothe the sovereign's anger. His second son, an official in capital city, unable to visit him in jail, could only kneel outside the court of judicial review, sharing his father's hardship. He had been kneeling for 2 months. The reason for today's summoning by the sovereign was naturally because of Shen Lang. The eunuch then relayed everything about Shen Lang's journey from mythical Turtle City to his audience with the sovereign to Zhang Chong, asking him to analyze whether Shen Lang's behavior was genuine or an act. After pondering for a moment, Zhang Chong replied, "Every word he said represents his true feelings, but he knew your majesty was watching him, and he could have remained silent, yet he still spoke his mind, which means he was putting on an act." The eunuch glanced at the sovereign, then continued to inquire, "Zhang Chong, in your view, does Shen Lang harbor ambitions? Could he plot a rebellion?" Zhang Chong responded, "If not pushed, this man would live quietly, but if pressured, he will undoubtedly rebel. Shen Lang's ideal is to enjoy wealth and honor, yet he does not covet luxury, nor can he tolerate the slightest grievance. Anyone who offends him will eventually be brought down by him." Upon hearing this, the sovereign couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. "What audacity! Then why has he not plotted your death?" Zhang Chong paused for a moment, then continued, "Because I have never offended him." After listening to Zhang Chong's words, the sovereign fell into deep thought. Shen Lang was indeed interesting. Everyone said he was uncouth, but those who got to know him realized that every action he took and every word he spoke was carefully calculated. He was like a jade cup in the sovereign's hand, seemingly ordinary yet exquisitely crafted, truly a rare treasure in the world. Then the sovereign suddenly asked, "Zhang Chong, do you think I should kill him?" Upon hearing this, Zhang Chong blurted out, "Do not kill him, your majesty. Shen Lang's mind is delicately cunning and extraordinarily wise. He is like a sharp blade. If used properly, he could be a more formidable weapon than even I." As the words fell, the sovereign also stopped fiddling with the porcelain cup in his hand, and the grand hall fell into complete silence. Meanwhile, in the Jin family's villa, Shen Lang, who was alone in his room, lay on his bed analyzing the various situations that might arise next. He was certain the sovereign would not kill him because, after I left, the sovereign would surely find someone to help analyze my intentions. Moreover, the sovereign knows that if I were killed, my father-in-law would immediately align with the state of Wu, an outcome the sovereign could not afford. Regarding the title, when he entered capital city through the mythical Turtle Gate and said it felt like coming home, the look on the eunuch's face showed that this was a sore point for the sovereign. He certainly does not want to bestow the mythical turtle title on the Jin family again, and perhaps this very night, someone will set out to deliver the decree appointing the Furious Tides Marquis to my father-in-law. But now that I am in capital city, I must secure the mythical turtle Marquis title for my father-in-law, and the task that follows is to annihilate the Su family. This task is extremely challenging, given that Marquis Su Nan is not only the army garrison general, but his sister is also the sovereign's consort. Therefore, I need a protector, and that is the third task, to support Prince Ningzheng. Of course, Ningzheng is almost the most despised son by the sovereign. Supporting him is almost like climbing to heaven. But isn't Shen Lang the best at creating miracles? As long as he establishes the fifth prince, he would become the greatest support in taking down the Su family. And the words he spoke tonight about destroying Su Nan will surely spread. Although the crown prince and the third prince are backed by the Su and Shui families, once they hear the news, they will stop their current actions and choose to sit back and watch the fight. After all, the Jin family's status is not what it used to be. In their eyes, any loss to any party would be beneficial to them. Besides Ningzheng, I will soon have another supporter. daughter, the third princess Ning Yan, nicknamed Third Widow. Of course, she isn't really a widow, but she and her husband have fought to the point of severe injury at home. Being the princess, she can't divorce due to her status, so she decided to settle in capital city and claims she is a widow, which makes her even more unrestrained. The sovereign has always doted on this younger daughter and has become even more indulgent due to her unfortunate marriage, thus tolerating her domineering personality. Nowadays, Ning Yan is considered a major menace in capital city, but it's precisely this type of strong, albeit somewhat reckless, goddess that makes the best ally for Shenlang, especially with her royal status as the perfect candidate. When Shenlang first encountered Ning Yan, the provocative words he used were intended to provoke her to come after him. Now, he just needs to wait for the prey to walk into the trap. At this moment in the palace, the sovereign ordered Zhang Chong to be returned to prison while he sat alone in the hall, pondering deeply and finally setting aside his prejudices to try Zhang Chong's approach. Setting down his cup, he picked up a jade scroll from the table, which, as Shenlang predicted, contained the decree appointing the mythical turtle count as the Furious Tides Marquis. Closing the scroll, the sovereign's lips curled into a smile. I have issued this Marquis decree, but if you do not accept the decree and fail to obtain the title, you cannot blame me. Thinking this, he summoned the eunuch to set off tonight, ensuring the decree reached Jin Zhuo in the shortest time possible. Moreover, Jin Mutsong has now become a well-known figure in capital city thanks to his novel Battle Through the Heavens, with even the third princess as one of his loyal readers. Initially, because he used the pen name Rogue Scholar with a wry smile, the book sold out as soon as it hit the shelves. However, many officials and nobles who bought it started cursing as soon as they read it. What is this all about? Where are the beautiful poems? But just as Shenlang had predicted, a group of martial artists and students from the Imperial Academy were enthralled by it. Some students even tore the covers off their textbooks and replaced them with this book's cover to read it in class. Just as everyone was embroiled in various controversies over the book Battle Through the Heavens, someone finally stepped forward to reveal the truth. The author Rogue Scholar with a wry smile is actually two people. The first one is Shenlang, who wrote the first book Boundless Romantic Affairs, while this one was written by Jin Mutsong. Regardless, Jin Mutsong has truly become famous, with even the booksellers being threatened by the third princess to rush him for new chapters. Jin Mutsong panicked. It's not that he didn't want to write, but his brother-in-law hadn't yet given him the outline for the next volume. Moreover, it's been so long since his family contacted him, not even a letter for the new year. Could they really have forgotten about me? Jin Mutsong finally made his mark in the literary world with his novel Battle Through the Heavens, and even the usually domineering third princess Ning Yan became one of his loyal readers. However, when Ning Yan eagerly approached Jin Mutsong, she was shocked by his simple appearance. For a while, she even forced herself to forget that Jin Mutsong was the author of the book, but the book was just too captivating for her. She could reread the unfinished first volume 5 times without getting bored. That night, as usual, she lay in bed revisiting this masterpiece. However, the thought that such a wonderful book was written by a dead fat house infuriated her. If it weren't for her eagerness to read the second part of Battle Through the Heavens, she would have wanted to kill Jin Mutsong. Thinking this, she immediately got up and ordered her guards to go to the Imperial Academy. If he couldn't produce the second part, she would take his life. It was at this moment that Prince Ningjing suddenly entered. Third sister, what has upset you so much this late at night? Ning Yan, already with a domineering nature, was not pleased to see her annoying younger brother visiting and dismissed him with a curt "I'm busy." Ignoring her words, Ningjing went on, third sister, today I heard someone was quite disrespectful and insulted you. This person said you have a slim waist and a large bottom, but your legs are too thick, and also that he's been holding back for too long and nearly couldn't control himself upon seeing your figure. Upon hearing this, Ning Yan exploded in rage. Who is this scoundrel who dares to speak such nonsense? I'll kill him. And the third princess's reaction was exactly what Ning Jing had anticipated. Third sister, the one who made those remarks is the son-in-law from the mythical turtle count's mansion, Shenlang. He is currently staying at the Jin family's villa. Hearing this, Ning Yan didn't wait for Ning Jing to finish and immediately stormed off to the Jin family villa with her guards in tow. Shortly after, Shen 13 rushed into Shenlang's bedroom in a panic. Young Master Shen, it's bad news. Princess Ning Yan is coming here with dozens of guards. Upon hearing this, Shenlang showed an excited expression. Third widow, I was almost falling asleep waiting for you. Just then, with a bang, the door was kicked open by Ning Yan, revealing Shenlang already dressed and waiting in the living room. Seeing him for the first time, Ning Yan paused. Then the next second she walked up to him and demanded loudly, are you Shenlang? Are you the scum who publicly judged me? Did you also say that a woman like me could only tempt you when you were desperate? Looking at the flames nearly shooting from Ning Yan's eyes, Shenlang boldly admitted it, and his actions naturally succeeded in provoking the third princess's murderous intent. It's well known that she abuses her husband, and previously, the minister's young master was still hanging from the crooked neck tree in the princess's estate being whipped just for saying third princess has a really big butt. Ning Yan drew her blade and said coldly, Shenlang, are you aware of the rumors about me, the third widow? Now that you dare to humiliate me in public, think about how I might punish you. Guards, pull down Shenlang's trousers, pour boiling water on his privates, and scrape it with an iron brush 100 times. As soon as she finished speaking, 2 guards approached to seize him, and Shenlang immediately broke out in cold sweat. Ningyan, you truly are a disaster of capital city. How could you come up with such a vicious method? But the next second, he was pressed down hard onto a table. Ningyan sneered. Shenlang, didn't you say you had a reaction when you saw me? Then I will completely destroy the part of you that reacts. At this moment, Shenlang finally had a chance to speak. Third princess, don't you dream of having a child? Isn't the discord with your husband's family because you don't have children? I can give you a child. Ningyan was furious. You scum, you still want to sleep with me when you are about to die? Very well, since you care so little for your privates, let's just cut them off and then you can join my household as a eunuch. As the guard was about to proceed, Shenlang spoke again. Your Highness, do you currently have some indescribable issues down there, which is why you almost dare not drink water every day? At this, Ningyan was stunned on the spot. How did this scum know? Could it be that he found out when he visited the Count's mansion to see the doctor in Zaishi? In the past year, she had developed some unexplained pain in her lower abdomen, especially painful during urination, almost like torture, to the point she sometimes wished she could end it all with a single stroke. She had sought healers from across the nation, but no one had been able to cure this strange ailment. Now, although she did not know how Shenlang knew, she still signaled the guards to stop. Shenlang turned back, looking rather smug, and told Ningyan, Your Highness, only I can cure your illness. Ningyan looked at him skeptically. I have sought healers from across the country and none could find the cause of my ailment. We are meeting for the first time. How can you be sure you can heal me? Shenlang did not answer her directly but activated his X-ray vision and began to scan Ningyan's body. Have you recently reached a point where you experience unbearable pain multiple times a day? And have you started to see blood in your urine? Ningyan was shocked to hear Shenlang's description. These were things that not even those close to her knew. How did Shenlang know? She immediately ordered the guards to wait outside and decided to have a private talk with Shenlang. A moment later, Ningyan shared her situation with Shenlang. Shenlang, my daily pain is so severe it makes life unbearable. If you are just trying to save yourself by deceiving me, I will truly kill someone. Shenlang smiled and said, Your Highness, I never joke about medicine. Curious, Ningyan asked what exactly was her ailment and why so many doctors had examined her and found nothing wrong. Shenlang chuckled lightly and said, You have kidney stones. Ningyan looked puzzled. What kind of strange disease was that? She had never heard of it before. Shenlang continued to explain, The reason you're in pain is that the stones in your kidneys have moved to your bladder. When you urinate, they rub inside your body, which is why you bleed. If not treated promptly, it could lead to infection, which would be troublesome. After hearing this, Ningyan was shocked. Although she didn't understand why there would be stones in her kidneys, seeing Shenlang speak so confidently, she felt hopeful. Then, she excitedly stood up and said, Shenlang, if you can cure me, you will be my benefactor. From now on, in capital city, aside from my father, if anyone dares to touch you, I will kill them. Shenlang was secretly thrilled, waiting just for these words, but outwardly, he calmly accepted her offer. Seeing this, Ningyan quickly asked him how long the treatment would take. She couldn't wait a year or more, as it was truly killing her inside. However, Shenlang simply held up one finger and said, Rest assured, it will only take 1 hour to resolve all issues. When Ningyan heard that Shenlang could alleviate her pain in just an hour, she was overjoyed and hurried over to him, urging him to start the treatment right away. Shenlang was, of course, eager to get this done, but there was still one issue to address. In the modern world, severe cases of kidney stones would be treated with an ultrasonic lithotripter, but in this era, other methods had to be relied upon. The most reliable method currently would be to find a top female martial artist to use her true energy to precisely shatter the kidney stones inside Ningyan, who would then naturally expel the fragments from her body. When Shenlang shared his plan with Ningyan, she immediately sent for her aunt without a second thought. Meanwhile, the Su family had also received news of Shenlang's audience with the sovereign. The Marquis Su Nan, a long-standing noble and infamous for his debauched private life and sycophantic ways, was well known in the circles. Now, with the Jin family's recent achievements sparking hope among the remaining old nobility, they began to secretly promote the Jin family as the new leaders. At this moment, Su Jianting was reporting to his father, Su Nan, Father, the old nobility are now secretly switching their allegiance to the Jin family. And today, that brat Shenlang even boldly declared in front of the sovereign that he intends to destroy our Su family. Su Nan sneered and said, Ignore these fools. As they say, the bird that sticks its head out gets shot first. The more the Jin family stands out, the faster they will fall. As for Shenlang, he's doing this to protect himself. Both the crown prince and the third prince cannot tolerate him, but now that he's declared war, they will surely stop their attacks and watch from the sidelines instead. Indeed, the speaker was the cunning distant guard Marquis Su Nan, who was currently sitting on a beauty chair, dyeing his hair white. This villainous man, skilled in martial arts and robust in health, dyed his hair white to make everyone lower their guard against him, feigning an appearance of being old and frail. At this moment, Su Jianting informed him, today. Shenlang told the sovereign about our night raid on the mythical turtle count's mansion, but the sovereign did not inquire further. Su Nan thought to himself that this was not good, as it involved the time he secretly corresponded with the mythical turtle count to switch sides. Su Jianting quickly spoke up to reassure his father, saying that on that night he forced Su Peipei to hand over the secret letter and then personally burned it. Even so, Su Nan still felt uneasy. Since the sovereign now knew about this matter, suspicions would surely arise in the future, and he must resolve this issue as soon as possible. After pondering, he took a deep breath, then instructed Su Jianting to take gold coins and find a few of his trusted imperial censors to initiate an impeachment against himself. Su Jianting was immediately shocked, not understanding why his father would do such a thing. Su Nan laughed and said, "It's better to ignite this matter ourselves than to let others do it. This way, we can guide public opinion and take the initiative. To make something true appear false, you need to exaggerate it to the point of absurdity so that no one will believe it. Go, let them accuse me, Su Nan, of lawlessness, sending experts to raid the mythical turtle count's mansion, plotting to murder my own sister Su Peipei, and killing hundreds of innocent servants of the Jin family. Completely mad. Also, have you prepared everything regarding Jin Mutsong?" Su Jianting stood up and replied, "Everything was ready when Jin Mutsong entered capital city." Su Nan closed his eyes and declared, "The sovereign has begun to appoint Jin Zhua as the Furious Tides Marquis, so let's begin our action." Su Jianting hesitated for a moment and said, "Now Jin Mutsong is backed by the fifth prince, Ning Zheng. It might be." He was cut off by Su Nan before he could finish. "Don't worry about that stutterer, just proceed as normal." The scene returns to the princess's mansion, where a woman of extraordinary presence and stern appearance has arrived, and she is the sovereign's sister, the aunt of the third princess, Ning Jie. Once everything was prepared, Shenlang had Ning Yan remove her clothes and lie on her side on the bed. Then he reactivated his X-ray vision to start marking the precise location of the stones. At that moment, Ning Yan suddenly looked up and asked, "Shenlang, are you the author of Boundless Romantic Affairs?" Upon hearing this question, Shenlang proudly hummed an affirmative. However, Ning Yan immediately threw cold water on him by saying, "You look quite handsome. How could you write such trash?" Shenlang, at a loss for words, could only awkwardly smile. There was nothing he could do. The princess only liked books about fighting and killing. Suddenly, Ning Yan asked again, "That very exciting battle through the heavens, did Jin Mutsong really write it? If so, when you go back, tell him to hurry up and write the second part. If I don't see the second part within a month, I'll kill him." Shenlang, seeing the look in Ning Yan's eyes, knew she was not joking. This kind of violent demand for a sequel was indeed rare. Then, Ning Yan started to criticize Jin Mutsong's appearance. "That guy is already ugly. If he doesn't focus on writing, I'm really afraid I won't be able to stop myself from killing him." Shenlang listened, breaking out in a cold sweat. Lucky for him that he was handsome. He carefully marked all the locations of Ning Yan's kidney stones, with 7 on the kidneys and another 3 in the bladder. Under Shenlang's direction, what Ning Jian needed to do was to channel true energy into the stones using a steel needle to precisely shatter them. In just under 15 minutes, all 10 kidney stones in Ning Yan's body were destroyed. Just as Ning Yan was still questioning Shenlang's medical skills, Shenlang had the guards bring over a 1.5-liter water bottle, which he then handed to her and instructed her to drink. Looking at the water and recalling the pain associated with urination, Ning Yan hesitated for a moment, but then chugged the entire bottle in one go. 15 minutes later, Ning Yan couldn't help but rush to the restroom. Surprisingly, the excruciating pain was gone, replaced only by a relieving sensation. Shenlang, this pretty boy, had actually cured her. At that moment, Princess Ning Yan was overjoyed beyond measure, as the nightmare that had haunted her for years finally ended. In her excitement, she burst back into the room and slapped Shenlang on the shoulder. "Shenlang, you are incredible." Facing Ning Yan's tiger-like strength, Shenlang winced in pain and waved his hands. "Thank you for the compliment, princess, but let's try to talk without getting physical, shall we?" However, the magnanimous Ning Yan did not notice Shenlang's pained expression and instead slapped her chest, declaring that she would take Shenlang under her wing. "Shenlang, from now on in capital city, I've got your back. Just speak up whenever you need something. There's nothing in your kingdom that I, Ning Yan, can't handle." Although Shenlang was somewhat wary of Ning Yan's brute strength, he had ultimately achieved his goal, and he quickly said, "Your Highness, then I won't be shy. I'd like to ask you for a favor right now. I want you to help me secure a position of power where I don't have to bear any responsibilities. Whether it's a 7th or 8th rank doesn't matter." Ning Yan was startled. She didn't know of any such position within capital city. As a princess, she couldn't very well admit her ignorance, so she cleared her throat to ease the awkwardness. She then gave Shenlang a hard pat, saying she would arrange the matter immediately and notify him as soon as there was news. Then, without waiting for Shenlang to recover from the pain, she quickly slipped away. At that moment, Huang Feng suddenly darted into the room. "Young Master Shen, the personal eunuch of the 5th prince has come seeking an audience." Shenlang was startled and hurriedly had Huang Feng follow him to the drawing room, sure that Ning Zheng's confidant seeking him out in the middle of the night meant trouble. Indeed, as soon as they entered the drawing room, the eunuch urgently said, Young Master Shin, heir Jin Mutsung, has been arrested by the authorities of 10,000 Years County, and the charge against him is the violation of a married woman. Shin Lang was shocked. His brother-in-law was known for his naive and simple nature. How could he possibly commit such a sordid act? The eunuch said helplessly, "We didn't believe it at first either, but the heir was indeed caught in the act in bed." Shin Lang was baffled. "Impossible. I'd sooner believe a rooster could lay eggs than believe Jin Mutsung would do such a thing." He had warned Jin Mutsung repeatedly, upon his entry into capital city, to make no friends other than Ningjeng, especially if someone specifically sought him out or invited him to dine. He must not go. "No, this doesn't make sense. He always listens to me. Someone must have set him up this time." Shin Lang knew that in the past few months, Jin Mutsung really didn't go anywhere except to write, until he met Yufang, the manager of Skywind Bookshop, who also helped publish Jin Mutsung's books. This Yufang owns 5 bookshops in capital city and has always done well in business. However, last year, he published a book titled Legend of the East Departure. This book, which tells the legendary story of Emperor Jianli of the Great Qian Kingdom, is a banned book that the Great Flame Emperor personally decreed could not be sold in any country, yet Yufang sold it secretly in large quantities. To make matters worse, he sold a copy to a prince who was visiting in disguise. The prince, outraged, ordered all the banned books in his shop to be destroyed and fined him 1,000 gold coins. The officers who came to enforce the law also swindled him out of an additional 8,000 gold coins, leaving him on the verge of bankruptcy. At that time, the kind-hearted Jin Mutsung chose Yufang, the most destitute among many booksellers, as his distributor. Little did he know that in just 3 months, sales of Battle Through the Heavens would reach hundreds of thousands of copies, bringing significant profits and allowing Yufang to recover financially. To repay Jin Mutsung for saving his business, he had invited Jin Mutsung to his home for dinner several times, but the naive Jin always remembered his brother-in-law's advice and declined every invitation. After being rejected for the last time, Yufang appeared very disheartened and said that Jin Mutsung, being the heir of the count's mansion, could never truly be friends with a mere merchant like him. This comment successfully provoked Jin's naive compassion, and he finally agreed to come. After arriving at Yu's home, the two drank merrily, toasting and drinking freely until they both blacked out. When Jin woke up, he found himself on top of a woman, and to his further embarrassment, she turned out to be Yufang's wife, Mrs. Chen. That evening in the 10,000 Years County office, 5th Prince Ningjeng, upon hearing the news, immediately went to see the county magistrate. Being straightforward, he directly pointed out that he knew someone must be manipulating the situation behind the scenes and immediately ordered the magistrate to release the prisoner. This magistrate was none other than Shin Lang's old nemesis, Wang Chika, who had previously joined Zhu Wenhua in an attempt to capture him at the mythical Turtle Count's mansion. Not only had that capture attempt failed, but Shin Lang had also frightened him by feigning symptoms of smallpox. Now, having been promoted to a county magistrate in capital city and backed by powerful patrons, Wang Chika, already harboring resentment against the Jin family, ignored the threats from Ningjeng, a prince who lacked the emperor's favor, and flatly refused him. Ningjeng was furious. "Magistrate Wang, are you really going to disrespect me and not release him?" Wang Chika scoffed and replied, "Your Highness, Jin Mutsung, as a member of the royal family, has committed such a heinous act. If I comply with your request, it would tarnish the image of your kingdom. If I release him, how would I explain it to the sovereign, and how would I answer to the innocent woman who was humiliated? Besides, I am merely performing my duties impartially. I advise your Highness not to interfere in matters you shouldn't." At that moment, Ningjeng's anger flared up, appalled that a mere magistrate of 10,000 Years County dared to disregard him. Had it been any other prince, the magistrate would not have dared to show any disrespect. However, for the sake of the Jin family, Ningjeng still suppressed his humiliation and asked Magistrate Wang how he planned to deal with Jin Mutsung. To his surprise, Wang Chika picked up the law book and said, "For a crime of assault as evidenced as this, according to the laws of your kingdom, the punishment is mutilation." Ningjeng glared at Wang Chika. "That mutilation means castration. Since you can consider cutting off the Jin family's lineage, it seems that your backers have decided to make this a matter of life and death." At this point, Ningjeng no longer wanted to stay any longer and stood up, leaving with a dark expression on his face. That evening, Shin Lang also came to Ningjeng's residence to discuss the matter. Upon meeting, Ningjeng expressed great self-reproach for Jin Mutsung's imprisonment. Shin Lang, knowing that Ningjeng had done his best, quickly stepped forward to support him. Then, Ningjeng guiltily informed him that he had already visited the 10,000 Years County office and met with Magistrate Wang, but the latter was unwilling to release the prisoner. Shin Lang, observing Ningjeng's expression, asked if he had been insulted there. Hearing Shin Lang's question, Ningjeng's face turned red with embarrassment. The humiliation he received from Magistrate Wang that day felt like a slap on his face, something he would never forget. Yet, Ningjeng still said guiltily, "At this crucial moment when my uncle is about to be appointed Marquis, I failed to protect Jin Mutsung, allowing our enemies to exploit this gap, which could delay the Marquis appointment." Shin Lang shook his head and said, "From the moment Jin Mutsung entered capital city, he has been targeted by our enemies. Moreover, I can imagine that at tomorrow's morning court, there will be countless petitions impeaching my Jin family. If I'm not mistaken, these despicable tactics are likely the work of the Su family, who have planned every step of this. If nothing unexpected happens, someone will attack the Jin family residence tomorrow. We don't have much time left. We must rescue Jin Mutsong before dawn. Ning Jing grew even more anxious upon hearing this. Shenlang had only just entered capital city, and the Su family had already made their move. But now, with only 3 hours left until dawn, how could they find evidence to clear Jin Mutsong's name? He quickly raised this concern. Shenlang waved his hand and said, "We don't need to clear Jin Mutsong's name. He was caught in bed, so there's no innocence to speak of. What we need now is to completely resolve this issue from the root. First, we have to act more shamelessly than our enemies. Second, we must stop the countless officials from impeaching the Jin family, prevent a public outcry, and create an even more shocking event to divert everyone's attention so that they lose interest in the rape case involving Jin Mutsong. Third, we need to kill Yu Fang's entire family and Magistrate Wang Chika of 10,000 Years County, striking a hard blow to the Su family's face, demonstrating our power. Fifth Prince, since the fight has started, there's no need to hold back. Anyone who steps up should be eliminated. Do not let us fall into the enemy's rhythm. Instead, draw them into our trap and manipulate them at will." As Shenlang finished, Ning Jing was stunned. It was said that the young Master Shen of the mythical Turtle Count's mansion was almost demonically clever, and now he truly saw why. Shenlang laughed and said, "Your Highness, my people are already handling it. Let's wait and watch the drama that will shake the entire capital city tomorrow morning." After speaking, he took his leave from Ning Jing, excitedly heading towards the 10,000 Years County office. Meanwhile, at the residence of the distant guard Marquis, Su Nan assigned the matter of Jin Mutsong to Su Jianting. At that moment, Su Nan's confidant, Su Yong, was reporting to him, "Young master, Jin Mutsong has been arrested by the magistrate of 10,000 Years County." The fifth prince went to the county office to demand his release from Wang Chika, but he was not only refused, but also humiliated. Hearing this, Su Jianting couldn't help but murmur, "Ning Jing, this unpopular prince, really loves to meddle." He then turned to ask Su Yong, "Are the impeachment memorials from the imperial censors ready?" Su Yong immediately handed over the prepared documents to Su Jianting. After reading them, Su Jianting couldn't help but feel smug. "Shenlang, you may have stirred up trouble in mythical Turtle City, but now in capital city, my Su family's home turf, I'd like to see how you jump around." Su Yong added, "Rest assured, young master, the conspiracy against Shenlang is now in motion. As soon as he makes a move, we can guarantee he'll immediately be saddled with a murder charge." Su Jianting was overjoyed. If the Jin family's heir and son-in-law, one bears a rape charge, and the other becomes a murderer, I'd like to see how the Jin family could still receive a marquee title. You, a son-in-law, and Ning Zheng, a useless prince. I want to see how you could stand against my powerful Su family. I'll make sure you die without even knowing how you died. Shenlang arrived at the 10,000 Years County office to visit an old acquaintance, Magistrate Wang Chika. Unexpectedly, Wang Chika, now in a different official position, pretended not to recognize him. "Who are you?" This act greatly displeased Shenlang internally, but he maintained a smile on his face and introduced himself. Only then did Wang Chika look up, feigning sudden recognition, and said, "Shenlang, is it really you? Has your smallpox been cured?" Upon hearing this, Shenlang casually replied, "Thanks to Magistrate Wang, my smallpox has improved, but it hasn't completely healed and still flares up occasionally." Upon hearing this, Wang Chika was very annoyed. To his knowledge, those who contracted smallpox either recovered with scars or died. This young man claiming occasional outbreaks made it clear to him that Shenlang had been faking his illness. Growing angrier, the magistrate slammed his hand on the table and bellowed, "How dare you, Shenlang, a mere son-in-law, not kneel upon seeing this official?" Shenlang laughed lightly and responded, "Sir, I am an Imperial Academy scholar, and as a holder of this status, I am considered a prospective candidate for officialdom, which grants me the privilege of not kneeling before officials." Wang Chika was taken aback. Imperial Academy scholar? He hadn't expected the sovereign to grant Shenlang such a status. Although an Imperial Academy scholar was the lowest in the disdain chain compared to Wang Chika's status as a successful candidate in the Imperial examinations, he still had to treat Shenlang decently as the title was conferred by the sovereign. "Scholar Shen, what brings you to see this official today?" Shenlang said directly, "Magistrate Wang, we are somewhat acquainted, so I ask you to show leniency regarding Jin Mutsong. My Jin family will be greatly appreciative of your kindness." Hearing this, Wang Chika burst out laughing. "Scholar Shen, are you trying to bribe me? If so, save your effort. It doesn't matter if it's the fifth prince who pleads. Even if the mythical turtle Count himself were to come here, I would not compromise." Upon hearing this, Shenlang's expression darkened. "Magistrate Wang, what exactly would it take for you to compromise?" Seeing Shenlang's anxious face, Wang Chika felt inwardly pleased. "No matter how powerful you, Shenlang, are in mythical Turtle City, once you enter capital city, even if you are a dragon, you have to turn into a worm in front of me." Then, as he walked past Shenlang, he disdainfully said, "The actions of Jin Mutsong are grievously wicked. wicked and cannot be forgiven. If I, Wang Chica, were afraid of the powerful, I would not have joined the Court of Judicial Review in the first place, nor would I be in the position I am today. He then walked out of the drawing room without looking back, effectively issuing Shenlang a dismissal. However, Wang Chica's actions were not solely to avenge the humiliation Shenlang had previously caused him. As Wang Chica returned to his study and sat down, a servant approached him. "Sir, won't the matter of Jin Mutsong cause too much of a stir? If it reaches the ears of the sovereign, I fear." Wang Chica cut him off before he could finish. "Rest assured, even if the sovereign knows, he will not say anything. Moreover, my position today is entirely due to Junior Protector Su. We must repay our debts." It turns out that the struggle for succession between the Crown Prince and the Third Prince had long divided the officials into three factions, and Wang Chica was a member of the neutral faction. Although he did not want to participate in the royal conflict, having served 8 years as a deputy in the Court of Judicial Review without hope of promotion due to lacking powerful connections, it was only after he aligned himself with Su Nan, a major figure in the neutral faction, that he was promoted to the position of Magistrate of 10,000 Years County. Therefore, when the Su family asked him to harm Jin Mutsong, he acted without hesitation. At that moment, Wang Chica looked up and asked, "What has Jin Mutsong been up to in jail?" The servant replied with a smile, "This Jin Mutsong has been very obedient in jail, although it seems his privates were injured during that incident, and now he groans in pain there." As the clerk described this, Wang Chica seemed to imagine an unspeakable scene, and a lewd expression momentarily crossed his face. "Go tell Yufang that I want to eat the abalone rice cooked by his wife, and tell him to send her over quickly." However, just as he finished speaking, a sharp sound of drumming startled them both. Regaining his composure, an enraged Wang Chica immediately ordered his officers to seize the person beating the drum. But when the officers saw who it was, they felt a sense of foreboding. In the next second, the air above the 10,000 Years County office was filled with screams. After a while, 2 officers, beaten and bloodied, rushed back. "Magistrate Wang, Shenlang is causing a disturbance at the county office." Wang Chica was shocked that Shenlang, daring to assault officers openly, is utterly lawless, he exclaimed, before leading dozens of officers out, seething with anger. Though he said this, he was secretly delighted inside, having been fretting over how to catch Shenlang and imprison him to avenge his previous humiliation. Now that Shenlang was causing trouble in Capital City, it seemed like a suicidal act. Moments later, Wang Chica saw Shenlang beating the drum in front of the county office. However, their arrival did not stop Shenlang from continuing his actions. Seeing this, Wang Chica immediately said, "How audacious, Shenlang! Under the sovereign's feet, you dare to openly assault officers. Is this how the mythical turtle count taught you?" But just as the officers were about to rush forward, a fiery red figure stood up from behind Shenlang. "Magistrate of 10,000 years, it was I who beat your men. What now? Do you also want to arrest me?" Upon seeing the arrival, Wang Chica was immediately stunned. Third Princess? How did this troublemaker end up mixing with Shenlang? Regardless, after his initial shock, Wang Chica immediately halted the officers' attempt to arrest them. At that moment, Ning Yen continued, "Magistrate Wang, we have come here tonight to file a complaint, and we need you to convene a court session right away." Wang Chica gave Ning Yen and Shenlang behind her a cold look. Originally, he had planned to hear the case first thing in the morning, but since Shenlang was so eager to meet his end, he might as well oblige him. After all, the evidence against them was irrefutable, and he didn't believe Shenlang could turn the case around. Thinking this, he immediately waved his hand and commanded, "Bring the criminal Jin Mutsong, the plaintiff Yufang, and the victim Mrs. Chen, and convene the court." Hearing Wang Chica's reference to Jin Mutsong as the criminal, Shenlang immediately showed a protective demeanor. "You dare to label my family's fat boy as a criminal before trial, Magistrate Wang? You seem determined to antagonize my Jin family." Several officers then brought Jin Mutsong, Yufang, and Mrs. Chen to the courtroom. At this moment, Jin Mutsong looked haggard and dazed, clearly having suffered greatly in prison. Wang Chica then shouted again, "Let those in the court present their grievances quickly." As soon as he finished speaking, Yufang began sobbing and started to recount the incident of Jin Mutsong assaulting his wife. However, just as he began, a figure swiftly moved to Jin Mutsong's side. "I, student Shenlang, am here to accuse Mrs. Chen of assaulting Jin Mutsong, the heir to the mythical Turtle Count's mansion." Shenlang pointed at Madame Chen and denounced her fiercely. "This woman is promiscuous and venomous. Upon seeing my younger brother Jin Mutsong, she was captivated by his handsome and charming appearance and drugged his drink. While he was unconscious, she took advantage of him. Your Honor, my brother has preserved his purity for 18 years, and now this married woman has violated him, causing him immense despair. It's a disgrace to our Jin family. I hope Your Honor will seek justice for my brother and restore the honor of our Jin family." After Lang finished, everyone was profoundly shocked. They didn't expect Shenlang to be so venomously articulate. Even Jin Mutsong was startled. He knew his brother-in-law had a sharp tongue, but didn't expect him to be so fierce. At this moment, Yufang regained his composure, tremblingly pointed at Shenlang, and shouted, "Young Master Shen, you cannot twist the truth like this." Then, he cried out, "Your Honor, I have devoted myself to publishing books to make Jin Mutsong Mutsong famous, hoping to befriend him. I even invited him alone to my mother's birthday party. Little did I know, during the event he was fixated on my wife's beauty. After drinking 2 glasses, he claimed to be drunk and asked to rest in my room. However, this beast pretended to be drunk. When my wife brought him soup to sober up, he forcefully violated her and tormented her for over an hour. Hearing this, Shenlang turned and gave him a look of contempt. Pa, over an hour, as if his physique could last more than 30 minutes. Forget it, that's not important. Shenlang approached Yufang and asked, you knew about the torment for over an hour, why didn't you stop it? Yufang quickly claimed that he was too drunk to hear any disturbance, only learning later that Jin Mutsong had threatened his wife with the safety of their 2 children, saying he would kill them if she resisted. At this point, Jin Mutsong could no longer contain himself, pointed at Yufang and cursed him for being heartless. He had helped him so much, yet was betrayed today. Moreover, he genuinely liked the children, having given them large red envelopes and promising to give them more gifts they would like. How could he possibly threaten to kill them? Finally, Madam Chen spoke. Your Honor, I have always maintained my chastity and never let another man touch even a hair on my head. But now, this beast has defiled me, and I can no longer face living in this world. I beg Your Honor to seek justice for me. After hearing Madam Chen's plea, Shenlang sneered, then turned to Jin Mutsong and said, tell His Excellency the magistrate and everyone else whether it was this Madam Chen who violated you after you were drunk. The simple-minded Jin Mutsong finally got clever and spoke up immediately, saying he only had a few drinks and then lost consciousness. Waking up next to this woman, Yufang, standing by, angrily retorted, it was clearly you who violated my wife. When I found you, you were on top of her. Shenlang didn't bother to respond to Yufang and instead continued to question Jin Mutsong. When you woke up, were you really on top of Mrs. Chen? Think carefully. Was any part of her body also on top of you? Jin Mutsong pondered uncertainly. Then suddenly he recalled, when I woke up and tried to leave, I found Mrs. Chen's leg was on top of my leg. Satisfied with the response, Shenlang stood up and announced, everyone heard that, right? This woman was also on top of my brother. If they were both pressing on each other, how come Jin Mutsong's body is considered a body, but your wife's leg is not? Yufang turned pale upon hearing this. You're talking nonsense. My wife has bruises from struggling. Isn't that evidence of violation? Shenlang then turned directly to Jin Mutsong, asking him if he had also been injured. Jin Mutsong mumbled and hesitated to speak. He leaned close and whispered in Shenlang's ear that he had been injured there, and it was still painful and itchy. Enraged by this, Shenlang glared furiously and turned to scold Mrs. Chen. How dare you, you wicked woman, injure the heir of the mythical turtle Count's mansion's private parts? Did you use your teeth? My brother is the only male heir of the Jin family. Summon a medical officer right now to examine his injuries. After a while, a medical officer took Jin Mutsong to a back room for examination and later returned to the court to announce that Jin Mutsong indeed had superficial injuries around his privates. Hearing the medical officer's words, Mrs. Chen was mortified and cried out, claiming she would prove her innocence with her death, and then rushed towards a nearby pillar. Yufan attempted to stop her, but was blocked by Shenlang, who provocatively said, go on, hit it. It would be a relief if you died. With Yufan unable to stop her, Mrs. Chen couldn't brake in time and crashed into the pillar. However, she had only intended to make a show of it and didn't use much force, so she only ended up with a swollen forehead. She hadn't expected that Yufan would be stopped by Shenlang. Seeing this, Shenlang mocked, if you really wanted to die, you should have hit harder. That bump, barely more than a mosquito bite. Who are you trying to fool? At this, Wang Chika could no longer contain himself. He angrily slammed the gavel to summon people to throw this disrespectful Shenlang out of the courtroom. Just as 2 officers were about to carry Shenlang away, a voice from behind halted their actions. I would see who dares to touch him. The newcomer was Prince Ningzheng. He quickly approached and said, Magistrate Wang, this Shenlang is the legal counsel for heir Jin Mutsong. He has the right to make any defenses. Wang Chika was startled. He hadn't expected this ineffectual prince to appear here, but since Ningzheng was still the son of the sovereign, Wang Chika couldn't afford to be disrespectful in such a public setting and had to greet him with deference. Ningzheng didn't pay him any heed and simply sat down by the side, indicating for the trial to continue. It was clear to all observers that he was there to support Shenlang. At this point, Yufang, holding his wife, began to cry out, Shenlang, you claim my wife assaulted Jin Mutsong, but he's so fat and unattractive. What could my wife possibly see in him? Shenlang stepped forward with a smile and said, indeed, Jin Mutsong is worthless, but wasn't your plan to exploit his family's power and noble lineage? What you all don't know is that Yufang is infertile and incapable of fathering children. So, they pretended to invite Jin Mutsong for a meal and drugged his wine with an aphrodisiac, allowing Mrs. Chen to take advantage of him. Wasn't it all to conceive a child of the Jin family, to gain status through this child in the future? These words immediately enraged Yufang. Shenlang, you beast, how dare you slander my reputation? If I am infertile, then where did my 2 daughters come from? Shenlang applauded upon hearing Yufang's question, saying, Yufang, that's an excellent question. He then turned to the audience, Your Highness, Magistrate Wang, and everyone present, you may not be aware, but Yufang's 2 children are actually not his. They were fathered by other men. Furthermore, because the first 2 borrowed seeds resulted in girls, he set his sights on the noble lineage of the Jin family when he encountered Jin Mutsong. Upon hearing Shenlang's ferocious accusations, Yufang wished he could tear Shenlang to pieces right there. At this point, Magistrate Wang Chica couldn't help but interject. "Shenlang, your accusations are mere conjectures without any basis." Shenlang smiled lightly in response. "Magistrate Wang, do you think I have no basis? If so, why don't we bring Yufang's 2 children here and conduct a blood test to determine their parentage?" Yufang, feeling secretly pleased, thought back to earlier years when he was frequently away on business. Given his wife's beauty and her staying alone at home, he naturally felt insecure. After the children were born, he had conducted a blood test to confirm their paternity. With this memory, he readily agreed to the test. Only Shenlang, coming from the modern world, knew that such a blood test was unreliable. However, for him, it was also one of the best strategies for turning the situation around. At this moment, Magistrate Wang Chica was confused. "Aren't we supposed to be handling Jin Mutsong's case? How did we end up talking about a blood test?" Yufang then stepped forward, bowing to Magistrate Wang, requesting that his daughters be brought in for the test. He wanted to use the results to prove that Shenlang was slandering him and to affirm his wife's innocence, thus solidifying the evidence of Jin Mutsong's disgrace. Magistrate Wang found himself in a difficult position upon hearing this. He hadn't expected Yufang to agree to this in order to prove he wasn't cuckolded. However, since Yufang himself was so confident, there probably wouldn't be an issue. With this thought, he arranged for people to prepare for the test. To ensure foolproof results, Ningjing also dispatched 4 guards to accompany the retrieval of the persons involved. Moments later, 2 little girls, fast asleep, were brought in. Shenlang looked at the sleeping children, his heart softening momentarily. Had Yufang and his wife not considered these 2 children when committing their misdeeds? Never mind, they won't survive much longer anyway. Once this affair is concluded, while the children are still young and without much memory, they should be sent to Furious Tide City to be raised. Soon, everything necessary for the blood test was ready. As Shenlang gently stepped forward, about to touch one of the little girl's hands, Magistrate Wang Chica suddenly bellowed, "Shenlang, do not touch the witness." The sudden shout made Shenlang quickly retract his hand, and he frowned, saying, "Magistrate Wang, why such an extreme reaction? I simply intended to draw blood from the girls myself. As they say, the fingers are connected to the heart, and even though the children are asleep, I do not wish them to feel any pain." However, Wang Chica was unconvinced. "It's just a prick on the finger. How painful can it be?" "Shenlang, your intentions are suspect, and I absolutely will not allow you to touch these 2 witnesses." At this moment, Ning Zheng's voice came from behind Shenlang. "Magistrate Wang, if Shenlang cannot touch the witnesses, how about I do it instead?" Seeing Prince Ning Zheng again backing Shenlang, Wang Chica internally seethed with anger, but outwardly he could say nothing. He certainly didn't want to be impeached for preventing a prince from showing compassion to the people, which would paint him as mean-spirited and ungracious. With no further objections, Ning Zheng stepped forward, gently rubbed the little girl's finger as instructed by Shenlang, and after a moment took a fine needle and gently pricked it, causing blood to flow immediately. His touch was so gentle that the child felt nothing. Meanwhile, Yufang, ready to mix the blood, looked confidently satisfied. He had validated his paternity with his daughters more than once, each time confirming without a doubt that they were his biological children. With this in mind, he confidently let drops of his blood fall into the bowl. However, as he watched the 3 drops of blood in the bowl, his expression gradually shifted from confidence to horror. Contrary to expectations, the blood did not mix, but rather began to separate further. This result, of course, was anticipated by Shenlang, knowing that Wang Chica would never allow him to touch the children. Not only had he tampered with the water, but he had also coated Ning Zheng's hand with alum. Once everything was concluded and the prince had ordered the children sent back home, Shenlang burst into laughter. "Now that everything is out in the open, everyone has seen the results, right? Yufang, not only is your blood incompatible with that of the 2 children, but the children's blood is also incompatible with each other. What does this prove? It proves that not only can you, Yufang, not father children, but these 2 children also don't share the same father." This result also dumbfounded Yufang. How is this possible? They were compatible before. Seeing his confusion, Shenlang continued to taunt, "Yufang, you have resorted to using another man's seed to continue your family line, which is utterly vile. And you, Mrs. Chen, committing such shameless and promiscuous acts. You harlot, how do you still have the face to live? Both of you still dare to covet the noble bloodline of my Jin family, framing the heir of the Count's mansion. It's utterly unforgivable." Mrs. Chen's sudden collapse, foaming at the mouth and then falling heavily to the ground, nearly made Magistrate Wang Chica's jaw drop. What was happening? Weren't they just adjudicating Jin Mutsong's case? How had it devolved into a blood test, and how had Shenlang seized control so abruptly? However, he was also aware that his task from the Su family was merely to bring down Jin Mutsong and tarnish the Jin family. His role was to delay the trial. Once the historians reported this matter to the sovereign in the morning court, implicating the Jin family, even Shenlang, with all his capabilities, wouldn't be able to turn the tide. With this in mind, Wang Chica decisively struck the gavel. The court decides that due to insufficient sufficient evidence on both sides. The suspect Jin Mutsung will be temporarily detained pending further investigation. As the officers were about to take Jin Mutsung away, Yufang intended to leave with his wife, but Shenlang was not about to let them get away so easily. Magistrate Wang, Mrs. Chen has such clear suspicion of criminal involvement, and you're just letting her walk away? And Yufang as well, a co-conspirator. If you let them leave so openly, does it mean I too can disregard the laws of Yu Kingdom and just take Jin Mutsung with me? Upon hearing this, Wang Chika nearly ground his teeth to powder. Shenlang, what are you? You dare to bark in my court, thinking I can do nothing to you? However, out of the corner of his eye, he saw Prince Ningjing approaching. Wang Chika's heart tightened. Damn, I forgot about Shenlang's backing from Prince Ningjing. Even if Ningjing was out of favor, he was still the son of the sovereign. With no other choice, he had to order the detention of both Yufang and his wife as well, pending a later trial. What Wang Chika did not expect was that to Shenlang, Jin Mutsung's case was merely a minor episode. His real plan was already unfolding elsewhere. 30 minutes earlier, third Princess Ningyan, accompanied by her personal guards, arrived in front of the largest brothel in capital city, the Spring Breeze Pavilion. Looking up at the signboard, Ningyan asked her guard, "Are you sure the extortionate Chang Nation delegation is here?" After receiving confirmation, a mischievous smile spread across her face. Time to stretch my muscles again. It turned out that Ningyan's absence was orchestrated by Shenlang, who had lured her out to deal with the Chang Nation delegation just before the court session. As the saying goes, troublesome people come from troubled lands, and Chang Nation, a poor country sandwiched between several wealthier states, was not only impoverished but also bellicose and politically uncompromising. Despite its small size, Chang Nation maintained close ties with distant guard Marquis Sunan. In exchange for strategic resources from Chang, the Su family engaged in trade that was almost annually unprofitable. But a wild wolf can never truly be a dog. It can never be fully tamed. This time, the Chang Nation's delegation came to Yu Kingdom aiming to extort funds for a military expedition against the Sand Barbarian tribe. But the sovereign was not fooled and saw right through their intentions, ignoring them completely. Frustrated by this, the Chang Nation envoys simply stayed in capital city, refusing to leave. Not only that, they stirred up trouble everywhere, whipping the citizens in the streets. Just the day before, the Chang envoys had even ridden their horses through the streets, injuring a dozen innocent bystanders. Afterwards, emboldened by the backing of the Su family, they acted as if nothing had happened and even went to the Spring Breeze Pavilion to indulge in pleasures. The owner knew these men were just there to freeload, so he switched out the usual high-end girls for some sturdier women to attend to them. This group of women happened to suit the Chang people's tastes. Just when they were getting into the swing of things, Ning Yan kicked open the front door. The leader of the Chang envoys, the bearded man, was shocked. "Who dares to disrupt our fun here?" Ning Yan looked over the group coldly and asked, "Was it you lot who injured my capital city citizens?" The bearded man, now seeing who had confronted them, his eyes revealed a lascivious gleam. "Isn't this Princess Ning Yan? The local authorities here don't bother with us. And you, a woman, come to meddle in our affairs? Instead of wasting your time, why not join us envoys for some fun?" As his companions egged him on, a manager from the Su family, worried about offending the princess, quickly stepped forward to apologize. But Ning Yan wasn't having any of it and knocked him out cold with a slap. Then, with a menacing look, she declared, "You men, as envoys of the Chang Nation, have committed crimes on the soil of Yu Kingdom. I'm not one to bully others, but since you want to play, I'll join you." The group of burly men immediately became excited. "What bold words, princess. Let's see how you handle our Chang Nation warriors." As the men charged at her, Ning Yan calmly took up a defensive stance. But in just a quarter of an hour, the battle was over. The Chang envoys lay on the ground, moaning in pain. Ning Yan, with a look of disdain, taunted, "The warriors of this year's Chang Nation are too weak. You couldn't even handle 10% of my strength. How disgraceful." She scoffed again and then turned and walked away. Of course, Ning Yan was telling the truth. If she had really gone all out, those men would likely have ended up dead. But even so, for the Chang Nation envoys, it was a humiliating defeat. They wanted revenge, but Ning Yan was a princess. They couldn't just storm the palace. The more the bearded man thought about it, the angrier he got. He barely managed to sit down when he shouted at the owner to bring them wine. At that moment, a man disguised as a woman, along with others, came in carrying several jugs of wine specially prepared by Shenlang. The bearded man, still fuming, didn't notice that the women serving the wine had been switched out, and he grabbed a jug of wine. Of course, when Shenlang takes action, it's always high quality. As soon as these men drank the wine, they began to experience hallucinations. Seeing this, the man in women's clothing, following Ning Yan's instructions, quickly guided the bearded man's thoughts. "Sir, what is the most sacred place in Chang Nation?" The bearded man, groggy, responded, "Of course, it's the Snow Mountain Temple." The man in drag continued to lead him on. "Coincidentally, our Yu Kingdom also has a temple just like yours, revered and inviolable, worshipped by thousands." Hearing this, the bearded man suddenly conceived a satisfying idea for revenge: burn down Yu Kingdom's temple. Once the idea took hold, the group excitedly asked for directions and headed towards the temple. Upon arriving, aided by the hallucinations hallucinogenic effects of the wine, they killed over a dozen guards at the entrance and then set the temple ablaze. These fools, still caught up in their excitement, had no idea that they were helping Shenlang accomplish a significant part of his plan. The Su family could never have dreamed that overnight the focus of public opinion would shift onto them.